Mr. President, as we begin our proceedings this morning, I want to take a moment to recognize a milestone here in the Senate. On this day 40 years ago, C-SPAN broadcast the United States Senate for the very first time. On June 2nd, 1986, the American people were able to turn on their televisions and see the Senate come to order and their senators engage in debate until the gavel dropped later that day. Gavel-to-gavel coverage, Mr. President. That's the C-SPAN way. And over the last 40 years, C-SPAN hasn't missed a beat. It's captured 43,830 hours of Senate proceedings, broadcast 169,000 speeches by hundreds of United States senators who've served in these halls, and captured the moments, large and small, historic and human, that make up the United States Senate. Mr. President, on that day, that first day, 40 years ago, the Senate was considering an education bill. And what a fitting topic of discussion for C-SPAN's first day covering this chamber. Education is C-SPAN's entire mission. C-SPAN urges its viewers to, quote, make up your own mind. And for 40 years, C-SPAN has enabled the American people to make up their own minds about what we do here in the Senate. It's helped countless American students see the legislative process in action. And it's ensured that what happens here is lost neither to the day's news cycle nor to history. And I trust that C-SPAN will continue to offer the American people a front row seat to the Senate for many decades to come. Mr. President, C-SPAN captures a lot of our work here in Washington, but just as important is the work that senators do back in our states. Last week, the cameras were off here in the chamber, and senators were back at home hearing from the people that we all represent. I spent last week back home in South Dakota traveling around my state and hearing directly from South Dakotans. I had a chance to catch up with mayors of Webster and Lennox. Mayor Danny Fergan of Lennox took me around his city. He showed me new housing developments in Lennox. I saw the city's infrastructure needs. And we went down Main Street to a few businesses, including El Mariachi Restaurant. Mr. President, I also spent some time up in northeastern South Dakota. As I mentioned, I met with the mayor of Webster, Mike Grosick, and I dropped by a few local businesses that are benefiting from the permanent tax relief Republicans delivered in the working families tax cuts. I went to the 322 Kitchen and Cocktails in Aberdeen and saw the Main Street expansion and the owners have undertaken, including the first rooftop lounge in the city. I visited quite possibly the coolest store ever, the Hitchin Post, a family-owned business that has been an icon in Aberdeen for over 50 years and was recently named one of America's best Western retailers. And then over at the Meat House in Andover, I had a conversation about the local agricultural economy and the ranchers who run that business, with the ranchers, I should say, who run that business and who take pride in their home-raised beef. Mr. President, I've always valued the opportunity I've had lately to spend some time hearing from South Dakota's young people. This past month, I've been in classrooms in Winter, in Rapid City, and Sioux Falls. And we've had a number of school groups visiting Washington, D.C. as well. I attended the Dakota Relays at the beginning of May and then the state track meet this past Friday. And last week, I had the privilege of speaking at Boys State at Northern State University and then at Girls State at the University of South Dakota in Vermilion. Mr. President, it's always a pleasure to get to talk with young people and to hear what's on their minds and what their dreams are for their futures. And I suppose, Mr. President, that's because on any given day here in the Senate, that's what our focus as Republicans boils down to: cultivating a brighter future for young people and for all Americans. A future that's secure, with greater prosperity, and more opportunities to get ahead. That's our focus here in the Senate, Mr. President, and it's what we continue to work toward every day.